Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. Now on this really interesting series about the power of ideas and attitudes, right? Now, um, I stopped the last time by asking a question: how do we change our attitudes? Because once you understand that ideas can be used for either creative or destructive purposes, and that our attitudes are essentially the result of the ideas we have come to believe that goes through several processes, how then do we change attitudes, or how do we cause people to change attitudes that we don't like, attitudes that seem to be detrimental to our well-being? How do we change those attitudes? Well, it's really simple. Well, theoretically anyway. But before we get into that, let me first of all give this example from the Bible. Now, for those of you who know this story, when the Israelites were delivered from Egypt, God led them into the wilderness en route to the promised land. Now, at a certain point, Moses, the leader of the Israelites, um, instructed 12 guys to go into the land to spy it out, right, and to come back with the reports to the people. That was their job. 12 guys. So he sends them out, they go, and after a while, they come back and they deliver the report. But if you know that story, remember that there were two sets of reports. The first report was given by a group of 10 guys. And what did they tell the people? They told the people that, well, the land was great, was lush, it had fruits and everything, very fertile. But, but the people in the land were like awesome giants, right? They described them as giants. And they even went so far as to say that that is, they themselves, the spies, appeared to be grasshoppers in the sight of those people who they called giants. That there was no way on earth that the Israelites would be able to overcome those people. So they might as well forget about it. Maybe just go to uh, the next land or whatever it is. But this particular one, let's forget about it. I mean, there's no way. So that was their report. 10 guys, and all of them were unanimous in that report. But remember that there were 12 guys, 12 spies. Two of them had a dissenting report. Two of them gave another view. Two of them gave an opposite view. And they said, if in effect, that yes, the land is lush and green, it's very good and all that. And yes, there are people there, but we are well able to defeat them and to take hold of that land and make it ours. Those two guys were called Joshua and Caleb, right? And Joshua eventually became the leader of the Israelites after Moses had passed on. Now, where am I going? I'm going to a particular verse in that passage. God told Moses to separate those 12 spies and to separate unto him Joshua and Caleb. Now, listen to this. Why? Separate unto me Joshua and Caleb. Why? Because they have a different spirit. Now, let's stop there. A different spirit. What was God saying? Let me describe it this way. When you're talking about people, there are particular ways that you can talk about them. Now, if somebody always seems to be very angry and very upset, has a huge chip on his shoulder, is always scowling at people, always yelling, there seems to be nothing that you can do to get this guy to smile, right? He's always angry. How would we normally describe that person, right? Some of the time we would say, or a good deal of the time we would say, that guy has an angry spirit. Yeah. Also, similarly, if somebody was cowardly, right, always running away from things that seem to be too huge in their minds for them to handle, is afraid of heights, is afraid of swimming, is afraid of this, that, and the other, we would say that that person has a fearful spirit. Now, why do we use the word spirit? Because the spirit of a person is essentially the nature of that person. You can't change your life if you don't change your spirit. And what is your spirit? Your spirit is eventually, or is really, or essentially, your attitude. When we say somebody has an angry spirit or someone has a cowardly spirit or a fearful spirit, what we're really saying is that the attitude of that person manifests this characteristic of anger or fear or cowardice, his attitude. So when God said, "Separate unto me Joshua and Caleb," why? Because they have a different spirit. He was saying that their attitude was right. Their attitude was different from those other 10 guys. Their attitudes were the things that were needed to really propel the people into the promised land. Your attitude is a manifestation of all the ideas you have come to believe. We've talked about that already. So let's not stop there. If you know that your spirit or your attitude towards certain things is wrong and you seek to change it, but don't know how, we need to treat that, right? If you know that you're constantly being angry, right, or you have a chip on your shoulder, or you seem to have a fear, or you're very anxious about something, it means that we have to address your attitude. But how do we do that? You don't just hop into the shower and come out a new person. Hey, I have a different attitude. No. Remember how attitudes are formed. It starts with what? It starts with the precept. From precept to concept to ideology to philosophy to your attitude or your mentality. The way you think is the way you would live. So it means that if we're going to change your attitude, we have to go back, dial back to the beginning, to the foundation, the idea that gave rise to that attitude. Your attitude didn't just come from space, it came from the ideas that you have been fed, right? It came from the ideas that you have been fed. So we need to deal with the foundation, which is the idea. But here's the thing: how do you deal with an idea? Because ideas cannot die. You can't shoot an idea. You can't use a bow and arrow on an idea. You can't use nuclear weaponry on ideas. Ideas are indestructible. Ideas um, live beyond men. That is why we have issues with something like terrorism, right? Because terrorism is not a person, it is an idea. So when we got rid of people like Osama bin Laden, terrorism didn't die. Why? Because it was an idea that has been spread from one mind to other minds. So you can't kill an idea. So what do you do? How do you treat this idea? How do you deal with it? You can't kill an idea, but you can replace an idea. You can exchange an idea. So, for example, if you're traveling from one country to another, maybe another continent, right? Maybe from Africa to the US or to Europe, if you had your local currency, what would you need to do to be able to transact in the place you're going? You would have to what? You would have to exchange currency, right? You had X sum of local currency and you have to exchange it for the new currency. You're still holding the value. It's the same value, right? Now, depending on what the economy of that new place is like, you can either buy more or less, but essentially it's the same value. Whatever you have in the local currency, it is the value that you're exchanging for the new currency. So you're replacing the local currency with the new currency. That is how you replace that is how you deal with ideas, by exchanging the old ideas that you have been carrying with the new ideas. So when we say, for instance, that you have been converted to a new belief, for instance, it means that you have exchanged the ideas you used to have for a new set of ideas, which you now start to believe in. I remember that I said that attitudes are formed over time. So it's not something that would just go away in a day. It means that for you to change your attitude, you must start deliberately to be exposed to the new ideas you want to inculcate, the new ideas that you want to build, the new ideas that you want to develop the concepts and the ideologies and the philosophies from, that will eventually change your attitude. But it first starts with replacing the old idea. That is what will eventually translate into the change in attitude. I hope this helps you. See you next time.